Well, hey everybody, my name is Jared Malott. I'm here with my good friend Mateo Calise, and this is the Coltist, episode 36, aka the Brandon King episode. And Brandon King is currently a special
In
teamer for
case
the
you don't
Colts,
know.
who Mateo pointed out really hadn't made much of an impact yet. But boy, did special teams make a big impact
Yeah.
today in the Colts' first victory of the 2022-23 NFL season at home against the Kansas City Chiefs. Uh, and what I have to, we kind of were talking about, it was kind of a shocking home win.
Yeah,
Um,
it's shocking, but we talked about it last week where we said, it would be the most absolutely cold thing to do to go out and get blown out by the Jags, only to go out and beat the Chiefs somehow.
mm,
And they went out and did it. I mean, I don't know if it's fair to say, that the Colts beat the Chiefs more than the Chiefs beat themselves today. They made way too many stupid mistakes that I don't see them making anytime soon.
yeah,
But the Colts defense and the special teams unit played amazing today. They were like the defense especially surprised me because I expected them to like allow sign like 40 points, 35 points in the minimum, and they had one hell of a game.
yeah.
DeForest Buckner had a hell of a game. Yannick Ngakwe, finally showed up. Stephon Gilmore had a really good game. Rodney McLeod, Rodney Thomas players like you're not expecting much from them, and they
Mhm.
came up, stepped up, and had a really, really good game. So happy Sunday.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, um, one of the things that I had a feeling late in that game, there had to be a little bit of a come to God moment where that penalty on Chris Jones, I
Yeah.
think that everybody realized like it's kind of now or never, right?
Yeah. Yeah. They
This is
had just
about
so
as good as
many.
it's going to get for us if
Yeah.
we're going to get over if we're going to get over the top, over the hump, we're going to go ahead in the game. It has to be now and it has to be a long
Yeah.
sustained
And
drive.
yeah,
We cannot give Patrick Mahomes this fucking
they
ball
gave
back.
us, they gave
Eh,
us plenty of chances. They missed the short field goal. They missed the point after. They missed a fake field goal. That's stupid and sportsmanlike conduct penalty where you're like, you just stop the guy. It would be interesting to see like if what Jones said to Matt Ryan was really something along the lines of like, okay, that's really disrespectful because I can imagine, guys getting up and saying, oh, fuck you, or
mhm,
it's football.
mhm.
Should have been signed like really disrespectful for it to be a 15-yard penalty for a set of downs.
If you, I try to, when it happens and the guy gets a penalty on him, I try to think like if I try to devolve into whatever kind of person's lashing out right there after you make a big play instead of just like turning and going and celebrating with your teammates and moving the hell on, right? Um,
Yeah,
and what would have been said, and all I could think about was calling Matt Ryan a fuckboy right there. Um, after and if you just think about the game up to that point, I'm probably right. He probably got up after they took him down and called him a fuckboy, and the ref standing right there, and he's gonna call
yeah,
whistle every
yeah.
time.
He's like
Um,
he was right in front of. He was
right
like
there. So
less than a meter
think
away.
about
So
what
you're
I
like,
just said wasn't even that big of a deal. Um, and then know that what it was said was much worse. So if the first thing that came to my mind was that, and that we both know that whatever was said had to be like a touch worse than that, right?
yeah,
Had to be worse than that. And I've heard that kind of stuff eh, on
yeah,
watching a
hundreds
game
of
on
time.
TV at the end of a play, and you're like, wow, they let that air on national television. You know what I mean? So like
Yeah,
you couldn't hear what was said, but you could definitely tell that he was speaking to Matt Ryan, and there was a referee
like
within a
right in
yard of
front.
them.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
like literally, like just it's not like he was like 3, 4 yards away. We're like, okay, if he was like right there. It was Matt
right.
Ryan, Chris Jones, and the ref, like right fucking there. What?
Yeah.
Just shut your
You
mouth
could you
up.
could have said it under your breath and the ref heard it. You know what I mean? That's how close they
Yeah,
were. So obviously,
Jones stays quiet, and Kansas City probably wins the game.
yeah, going away, probably, right? Because I got the feeling there. the Colts got the feeling if we give them the ball back, they're gonna take it and score. And there's no sense if you're down 4 points and you know you need a touchdown, than doing anything but expecting to go down and score a touchdown and win the game and give them a ball
Yeah,
back with no time left. That has to be the plan. And I guess it really now that the game is over and the Colts have beaten the Chiefs, hindsight's 2020, right?
yeah, I say
I
this.
guess that football really is that real, right? Where I think I kind of said last week, I think anytime you're missing your number one and two wide receivers and you're on the road and it's raining and then the defense just has a reasonable game plan against you, um, that's how you get outplayed on the road in the rain.
Yeah,
Um, it really is that real. Um, and I'm going to
yeah.
temper my expectations
Nah,
based on
yeah,
the injury report. To be completely honest with you, who's healthy, who's not. Um, Obviously, I think that, and I poked at it in my post game rap video where I find it crazy that this team has a mental health initiative but has a communication issue.
yeah.
Um,
Community, yeah.
Pretty
It was
clearly on
just
offense and defense. I don't know whoever the special teams coordinator is for the Colts, but they're going to be a
Baba.
great head
That's
coach.
Baba Ventron.
Yeah, going to be a great head
And I
coach.
remember that because I'm a sucker for proper special teams play.
Yeah,
And I remember last season the Colts, they started the year off and the special teams unit was abysmal. Like we were
mhm,
playing really, really bad on special teams at the
yeah,
beginning of last year.
hmm
And I admitted, I was saying like this guy should get fired. Like special teams is terrible right now. He turned it around and now
yeah,
this is one of the best units like probably
in
in
the
the
league.
NFL.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're
I,
like downing punts, returning punts, the kickoff, like the last kickoff after the Jelani Woods touchdown.
mhm,
The short kick, was executed to perfection. And if EJ Speed doesn't get that stupid 15-yard penalty after the
right.
play, it's 6 seconds and 10 yards you won.
Yeah,
That's what
and only
wins.
to make a joke out of using vulgarity regularly on my podcast is and clearly EJ Speed also called somebody a fuckboy and
Mhm.
and that's how we traded those penalties late in the game where it was like what else could have been said? Well, probably something worse than that. So the Colts obviously lucky, and then like I said, like hindsight's 2020, you start to look back and you're like, hey, these people, these are really, and Frank Reich said it in his post-game press conference, these are really just people
Yeah,
um, that have unique abilities and are large, pretty much large or very good athletes, um, and that they're all important. And a lot of the young receivers showed that they're reliable and can be relied upon in tight windows and gotta have it
yeah,
situations in
yeah,
high pressure situations. Um, Obviously, I titled this game the Jelani Woods coming out party.
yeah. He
Um,
was
their touchdown party is what I said. The Jelani Woods touchdown party game is what I'll remember this as. And
how
boy,
amazing
he's
it
big.
might be to be six. What is he like 6'7"? Just so privileged, like that high, and the way he uses that massive frame, like in the red zone.
Mhm.
And from what little I saw from him, he just seemed like a bigger, faster, and stronger version of Mo Cox.
Yeah, yeah,
Because Mo Cox,
definitely
for
got more
his
fluid
size,
hips.
yeah, you
Mhm.
you see him and he's just like stiff. He's slow coming out of the breaks. Jelani Woods just looked so fluid, running the routes that he ran.
Yeah,
It's not like we saw a lot from him yet, but from what we've seen, that is not much. He just
right.
seemed like a really gifted athlete, and that's
Oh, for
a
sure.
really good guy to have at tight end.
Yeah, reminding you again how important it is to have a valid target and tight end, right? Like how that big
Mm,
frame is good late when it's so loud that the ground's vibrating you know, when there's a ton of pressure and you just need to see a friendly face. So how about that big dumb tight end out there? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
that's
um, especially when up to this point, you know, it'd been kind of touch and go with the receivers. And I get it
yeah.
today, Michael Pittman, like I've already said today, 8 catches on 9 targets. Um, didn't
Alec Pierce, I thought also had a solid game. Like he made some catches where you're like, okay, now I can see why this guy was the second round pick. Like the sideline grab when the
Mhm,
Colts were pinned down in the 10-yard line,
mhm.
and it's just like, okay, this guy's gonna be fine. He's gonna be a good football player.
Yeah, he dropped his first 2 passes attempted his way, but had 3 catches in a row late in the game that were all every one a dagger. And you're
Yeah,
like, hey, you know, uh, they don't normally ask rookies to do that, and that's the way. You know, it's awful good to pick a guy, him fill the role, right? He had to earn that
yeah,
spot, earn that time, earn that rep, right? And then make good on it early in his career. It's just like Matt Ryan said after the game, you know, like, hey, these guys are going to be good for a long time. Jelani Woods and Alec Pierce were 2 people he pointed out specifically. Now I get it. Michael Pittman is a guy he's a lunch pail receiver, man. Like he's every week, man, he's grabbing a rock on key
yeah,
down and he's going to get a
yeah.
first. Now
Yeah,
there was a little bit of a kerfuffle today with trying to get the ball to the right spot and get your body in the right spot. And that's something that can be fixed, as can the offensive line's
yeah. That
lack of
was like,
communication. And it's
do you?
specifically on when the opponent is blitzing up the middle.
Yeah, it was
Um,
just
they
clearly,
clearly didn't talk about it.
if you ask me, like it's been just 3 weeks, but the Danny Pinter experiment at right guard just has not been working out.
Yeah,
A possible solution, if you ask me, perhaps once Bernard Raymond, the rookie, is healthy once again, perhaps you start him at left tackle and slide Matt Pryor into right guard, because from what I saw from Danny Pinter, it's just like he does not look comfortable at guard.
he got knocked. He was the one that got knocked off his feet, right?
Yeah,
On a bull rush. Yeah,
63. Yeah,
yeah, no, no, no,
it
no.
just
You can't go the other way from glow, right? And for those of you uninitiated, the right guard problem of the past was Mark Lewinsky. He is now a Brown. Um,
Giants. He's
he's a
he's on the
giant.
Giants right now. Yeah, New York Giants.
He was a Cleveland Brown. He's a giant, I guess. But yeah, can't be backsliding from his play. But yeah, I noticed the right guard got blown off the ball today, and I was like, ooh, yeah, like you
Yeah,
said, gonna
it
have to
was
make a
tough to
change
watch.
there. I kind of wonder if Bernard Raymond's gonna step up and be the left tackle of the future.
Yeah,
You know what I
I
mean?
really liked. Yeah, I really like what I saw from him, because when he was healthy, he was rotating in and out with Matt Pryor. He was
Hmm.
playing something like 30-40% of the snaps week 1 and week 2. And I thought he looked, thing with him is he just started playing left tackle like 2 years ago.
Okay,
So of course he's not polished. He does not have the refined technique yet.
right.
But once that comes along, and it will eventually, you're looking at a guy that can be your starting left tackle for the next 8 to 10 seasons. So I'm really happy with the pick also, and I think he should be the starter right away, because Danny Pinter is just not the answer at right guard.
Yeah, and I think you'll use the film from today to like make that case if you're trying to get Raymond to start at left tackle and then
Yeah,
get somebody else in there at right guard. Um, there was a lot of miscommunication up front. It's pretty clear that either we didn't establish the rules, right? And everybody just knew what the rules were. Um, and we got lucky that nobody got hurt,
yeah,
frankly. And that at least as far as I can remember, it had like one ankle. Blackman, that was it, right?
yeah. Stephon Gilmore had that hamstring injury, but he came like
Yeah, he
he
came back
was
and played well.
he missed like one defensive series, and he came back in the second half. So it's like should not be anything to worry about.
Mhm. Just gotta keep the momentum going. I liked Frank Reich at the end of the game. He does, for the record, seems kind of to be the same person whether they win or they lose. For whether for better or worse, to use multiple cliches in a row. Um, I don't know if I like it. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll
Um,
see.
but I do appreciate that he said you want to say the same thing in there that you do here, win or lose. Um, we're just a bunch of people trying to get better every day. And yeah, you need results. He needs results. That's what
Yeah,
he
he
needs to
needs
say.
results.
I need us to win to keep my job. But it's a it's a lot more about the growth and development and fulfillment of potential of each of the people
Yeah,
involved with this organization as we have good weeks and bad weeks. And obviously last week was a bad, what I would call a bad week, right? You go on
yeah,
the road,
definitely
your
a bad week.
offense does nothing, you get blown out, shut out on the road. That's a pretty bad week. And to pick it up and to shake it off and then come home. And I was telling my wife, you know, after getting dumpstered by Trevor Lawrence, it says an awful lot about an organization and their ability to conserve energy, conserve energy, pack it up.
Yeah,
We're gonna
just
put all our eggs in this basket and really go all out at home trying to beat the Chiefs. And if you think about it, it's just true. The Colts beating the Chiefs at home does more for morale than eking out a win against the Jags on the road does.
yeah, yeah, they have
It
to. Yeah, they have
it's
to be like really hyped right now.
it means more for your street cred, for your media cred, for you to beat the Chiefs at home than it does to beat the Texans on the road in week one. Nobody cares. You should win that division, right? The reality of the situation is a lot of the teams that you're going to play that aren't in your division are better than the teams in your division. And this Kansas City Chiefs team. I mean, it's still a team I expect to contend. Like
Yeah,
I expect that they're gonna be a wild card or better, unless Patrick Mahomes or a significant portion of their team gets injured and they just don't got anybody left. There's just nobody there, I guess. I expect that that's like a playoff team, man. And
yeah, yeah,
so for
definitely. Yeah,
and I don't believe that the Texans or Jags are playoff teams. We know those. We know that though, and we know that about them. And that's why I'm saying like it means a lot more for those players that the Matt Ryans and the DeForest Buckners to come. You come to Indianapolis to
yeah,
organizationally be put in a position to be able to handle someone like Patrick Mahomes and the
yeah,
organization for again for better or worse. I don't know if this is a net positive. We'll we'll see. Winning does a ton. It does a lot of heavy lifting that just being
yeah. And that's
competitive can't do. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
It's
First game. Yeah, and it's it's Matt Ryan's first game in a Colts uniform in the home stadium, and he goes out and gets a win. And he now you got the chance of like going up divisional matchup against your rival against the Tennessee Titans at your
right,
home stadium. You have the
right,
chance to go out and show the world like, okay, yeah, we started slow. Like once again, we started slow, we tied and we lost. We did not have our top two receivers, whatever. Now we are at full
right.
strength. We just beat like arguably like top two, top three team in the AFC.
Yeah,
And now we went out and beat the Titans and beat our rivals and asserted ourselves in the division.
yeah,
So the Colts, Matt Ryan and the Colts are now in a position to say, we are here and we are still, the divisional leaders.
yeah. There's there's a couple wins that I think if you're gonna tell me that you're a contender that you have to have on your resume, though one is a good homestand against a good team, check. Kansas City Chiefs, just like you said, probably a 2 or 3 seed. Then you get to
Yeah,
back it up by beating your rival at home, which you should do. You expect to do, you want to do, you organizationally plan to do that. Win your home games, right? One, but more importantly, especially your division home games, you need to be winning those. That
Yeah,
needs to be a guaranteed 3 wins every year. And then you do that because the season is long and football is very hard. Life is very hard, right? So you are selling hope, and the hope is if you can beat the Chiefs at home and then you can back that up by beating the Titans at home, then you can go on the road to Mile High and beat Russell
yeah, and get
Wilson
the
and
yeah,
the Denver Broncos.
yeah,
Because
and
if you
they
hadn't
haven't
beat the
looked that
Chiefs,
good.
yeah, if you hadn't beat the Chiefs, then you're going to have a problem getting me to buy into flying into Denver, playing in Mile High, and actually beating them because it is difficult to play Denver in Denver. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Like the environment is the factor that a lot of teams, especially teams with a lot of young players like the Colts that haven't played there, um, it'd be hard to sell them on their ability to travel, get into that environment, and then be even a semi good Denver Bronco team. You know
yeah,
what I
and
mean? Even if they're not very good.
it's also Thursday night football, right? It's
Short week too.
so that's yeah, that's even tougher. So if they get that, but in my opinion, like you can't afford to lose that one. You know, it's on the road Thursday night in Denver. It's
Hmm.
you know that I'm not like it's a game that I do not expect us to win.
Yeah.
Now against the Titans, that's a game I expect us to get. That's the one we cannot drop, in my
No,
opinion.
no, no, no. You all, I mean, you price yourself by losing early into getting into must-win situations. Your back is against the wall. If you lose this game, you're behind everybody now, right? You've lost now to all three of your division opponents. And the last one you lost to, you got to try to avenge them on the road, by the way.
Yeah,
So like trying to avenge this loss is going to get tough. Um, it's all about playing with a high level of confidence. And again, I can empathize and again, hindsight's 2020 and when I watch Frank Reich speak, um, and I hear him say like, you want to say the same things in the locker room and out here, whether it's a win or a loss. And the reality of the situation is I said some last week about I'm a little taken aback about his current employment because clearly can't even plan for the division. And then the more I thought about it, the more the week went on, and then obviously after the Colts game, and now I'm like neck deep into
yeah,
conspiracy theory. It's where I'm living now. Uh, is now I'm thinking the Colts are in an information warfare, and what you try to do is show your opponent and show everybody else as little as possible and win so that you can continue to install and develop the little wrinkles in your offense, that little unbeatable shit that you do that nobody can guard, that you have it in the bag, that you have it installed.
yeah,
Obviously, you can tell that Bubba Ventrone's doing his fucking job, staying up late. He ain't sleeping because the special teams was outstanding, like
yeah.
to the
Matt
point where
Hack,
it actively
the
made
new Panther, you know.
it made the yeah new punter and new kicker. Uh,
Yeah, and they came in. What did he get? Like Chase got like a what was it like a 51 yarder
mhm.
today, like right through the middle, and you're like, now this is a guy that I can get behind.
Right. He's got a cannon. But yeah, the new regime doing swell. Um, and yeah, and you from this you get a lot of positive tape because of just like the Colts have a lot of guys that made it to Pro Bowl last year. Well, so do the Kansas City Chiefs. And so they're a notable team, and they're another small market team, just like the Colts are. Um, And yeah, I think it does. I think it does a lot more for the league for the Colts to get this win than the Chiefs blow the Colts out. So it does a lot because, like I said, it's gonna be difficult to go into Denver and win, regardless
Yeah, it's
how
gonna
good
yeah,
Denver is. It's not even that thought in my head. It's just hard to do that. It's hard to. I don't know if you've ever flown into Denver and stayed, but like the first day or two you're there, it ain't great because the elevation changes 15, 16,000 foot
Yeah,
different
it's
elevation.
gonna be.
Um, it's a factor. Um, and it affects athletes specifically. Specifically affects athletes
Yeah, high
VO2
performance.
max,
Yeah,
your ability to, you get a return from Hines, a long return, and it may take him out for a series, and he might need to be on oxygen, is what I'm saying. And I'm not necessarily Hines is like out of shape or anything. I'm just saying like somebody
yeah,
who
just
you
yeah,
need in
the
special
altitude.
teams, that you need on offense, that if they make a big play and the elevation takes him out for a
Yeah,
series
it's
because he's
just
huffing
too
and
much.
puffing,
Yeah,
it's a factor. It's something you got a game plan for. It's it along with communication, and then
yeah,
obviously,
all the little things that you absolutely have to get fixed. Otherwise, the
yeah,
Titans are really short-handed right now. You know, they lost Harold Landry for the year. They now lost Taylor Lewan
yeah,
also for the season. Their left tackle.
yeah.
It's just all they won today. Like they won against the Raiders, but
The
still,
0-3 Raiders,
yeah, I just
the
love that. Yeah,
hapless
I just love
Raiders,
that. I
future Colt
hate
Derek Carr.
Josh McDaniels, so watching him fail is
Hmm.
just
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
It's you know
It's all
Titans,
about
yeah,
buy-in. It's all about buy-in. Teams perform well
Titans
when they believe in their leadership. And
Titans Raiders. It was just like one of those games that whatever team wins, I'm just happy that the other one lost. You know, if the
right.
Raiders win, I'm happy the Titans lost. If the Titans win, I'm happy McDaniels lost. Just the win-win situations.
Yeah. It's a lose-lose for me. I hate seeing bad organizations win. Um, I'd rather you just lost. I had kind of said I hope by the time that the Colts and Titans meet that Malik Willis is the starting quarterback. And then I saw a Bleacher Report article that said, uh, no, the Titans are all in on Ryan Tannehill moving forward. And I was just like,
Yeah,
oh,
which was yeah,
if I'm Yannick Ngakoue, if I'm DeForest Buckner, I'm licking my chops. Because if you had a good time chasing Patty Mahomes around this week, oh, hey man, Ryan Tannehill is a little slower, a little thicker.
yeah. He's slower. He doesn't have the same pocket
Mm-mm,
awareness that because
mm-mm.
watching Mahomes, you know, some plays it just seems like he has eyes on his backward.
Yeah,
Pressure's coming in, and that internal clock, you know, he has is amazing. Like he
yeah.
can feel the pressure from Ngakwe. There were times where you're like, Matt Ryan in this situation would just like try and throw the ball, you know, get the fumble. Mahomes is he's just so good.
And I think what happened to Matt Ryan early in the game, and then what ended up they get the opportunity late to go back there and win, is what he was being punished for. So I know nobody's asked me yet. Hey Jared, you're a quarterback coach. You're not former offensive coordinator and primary play caller. What's wrong with Matt Ryan? So he didn't have any trust and rapport with his receivers because, well, he's his first year here, and you don't have that many live reps with the
Yeah,
likes of Michael Pittman, Alec Pierce, the list goes on, Paris Campbell even. And what has to happen, whether we like it or not, what has to happen is a quarterback has to get into a game situation in which we have to have it. And by we have to have it, that's his best ball, several of his best
yeah,
balls, and you have to catch it.
yeah,
You gotta come down with it. You don't get to decide. And there were balls that he threw that were so good that it was like, look how good that ball was. You didn't get to decide whether you caught it or not. It just was all breadbasket, and then the defender's hands like in there, and it's just like that was a great ball. He like threw it in your throat.
yeah,
What are you gonna do now? There's no way you can drop it, and that goes a long way to build confidence. And if I'm because of, and that's why I'm poking at myself, like because I'm a quarterback. The problem
yeah,
is that he wasn't confident, and so he's not making those early throws on the drop back. hesitating, and he's got good feet. He keeps it alive. He's trying to stay back behind his line, and there's just nothing coming open. He's not confident in anything. And then when he had to have it late in the game, you don't get to decide
Yeah,
anything.
you don't have, yeah.
Now the ball's out, it's got to be in this spot. It has to be perfect on at this velocity with this little bit of an arc to it because it's got to get over his hand into the basket, right? Like he was doing some things late in that football game. It's like, oh, that's why we paid him all that money. That he can actually do those things. And there's very few people in the NFL that can actually do some of the things that he did late in that football game. It's like, oh yeah, that's why you pay him all that money. But yeah, he didn't have that rapport. He didn't have that trust and knowing that I can let go of this ball while you're running this comeback and that you're going to turn the right way at the right spot and then it's going to hit you in the hands, Alec
Yeah.
Pierce. It's difficult when, especially when you probably put a lot of reps in with Alec Pierce, and then for him to drop that first one and then come up injured
Yeah,
and then misses the road game and then he comes back,
yeah, it's huge.
right?
Yeah.
It was big. It's big for their relationship that he comes through on an important drive in a winnable football game, whether it doesn't matter what the opponent is, it's the opportunity and what it represented, right? And what it will do for their relationship. Obviously, it's
Yeah,
a
for
lot easier
chemistry.
to take guff from someone when they fulfill their end of the bargain, right? And
Yeah,
for
yeah,
what
he's
it's
getting those
worth,
catches. Yeah.
when you think about why Matt Ryan, it's because you need someone with the sort of demeanor that is always looking for their next opportunity. When is the next opportunity going to come? Okay, now we got another opportunity. This is a good opportunity. We're only down 4. We got all kinds of time, right? We're
Yeah.
not in a rush. We're in our offense. Like, let's do what we do. Let's make plays and ultimately give ourselves a chance to win and not just score, but score and then give them the ball back with
Yeah.
minimal time left.
Yeah. Less
Right?
than 30 seconds. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of things had to go right, but um, the thing that success and winning does is it reinforces all of the good behaviors that you have to develop along the way. You can't do things the wrong way and win. And
Yeah.
I always think of a game just like I think of a season and I break it up, right? Well, the game's broken up into quarters. And I posted on social media and a lot of people asked me why. Several people messaged me on Facebook like, "Why did you post that?" But in the first half of a game, the Colts were winning 7-0 in the first quarter, on the opponent 49-yard line with a 4th and 1. Um, the Colts elected to go for it. And they turned the ball over. Matt Ryan got sacked,
Yeah.
and they ended up scoring like 2 plays later. And I think that again, this is a scenario where it's data versus football. And I think that the data said to go for
Go for
that
it.
because you're up. If you follow through and put points on the board, you're up two scores, 2 possessions early in a game. You're like 97.8% to win if you go up 2 possessions in the first quarter of a football game. You can do your own math. So I understand why the data would tell you to do that, but I think given recent context, and that's why
Yeah.
context
Yeah.
matters
You
in
have to
terms of
take. Yeah. You
data,
have to take
you have
context
to
into.
take the fact that your special teams is playing lights out right now and they're your best unit. And you have an opportunity at the 49 to not require all of your punter's leg. Yeah, I don't need all of it right now. I just need a solid punt and good coverage. And I'm forcing, and it's depressing as fuck. It's forcing Pat Mahomes to have to drive 80 plus yards as often as
Every single
possible
time. Yeah.
because think of athletes as having like a meter of energy, right? And if they don't got no gas at the end of the game, it's because every time they got the ball, all throughout the course of the game, all 8 drives they had, their
Yeah. They
average
had to
start was like
drag
the
down. Yeah.
19, right? That's because you did your job in terms of you should have let go of that football right there. And I get it. A lot of people are gonna say, Jared, you're willing to just instead of go for it there and potentially go up 2 scores and then you pretty much shut the door on them. Well, you're not scoring there. See, the problem is it's all about allocation of resources and like how hell bent you are to get that first down. And see, what you do is you put a lot of eggs in a basket and try to ram them through right there on that fourth down. You didn't need to do that. It was early in the game. And then there was 3 instances after that where it was actually correct and good to go for it on
to go
fourth
for
down.
it.
So
Yeah,
again, I'm not saying that we shouldn't be listening to the data. I'm not, and I think that your play call is obvious. And if I had a
yeah,
think about, and I'm an offensive coordinator, if I had to think about what are the most obvious play calls on 4th and 1 with a team that has the league's leading rusher, oh, I don't know, how about it jumps over the
run
pile,
up. Yeah,
off the hip of their badass offensive lineman? Well, if we just bury Quentin Nelson's face, what happens behind him? Oh, we just put a linebacker over his head and he hits that, right? What exactly happened, right? So that was pretty
yeah,
fair for me to say. That was pretty obvious play call. And that's one of the things that will bother me is that I'd rather you punted it. I feel like your play call was obvious, meaning that
yeah.
in preparation for you, I'm telling my team to be ready for fairly obvious shit, right? Just like Kansas City did to us. They ran a fullback dive. Fairly obvious shit. The problem is that their fairly obvious shit worked. That's the difference frequently between like 9-8 and 11-5 or 11-6, right?
Yeah,
Is you got to make the fairly obvious plays. So that's the hope. I kind of joked that the Titans were reeling, although I suppose in some way that beating the now 0-3 Raiders is somehow a
yeah,
net
it's
positive for you.
good.
Um, but it's important to note, like, you don't beat the Raiders without a great deal of help from King Henry, who the
Yeah,
Colts have actually done a pretty good job of containing. So it's like
yeah.
you got to
In the
beat us with
past,
somebody else,
yeah,
you
and
know?
they don't have AJ Brown. You don't have your left
That's
tackle. You
just
don't have
Robert
one of your best.
Woods.
You don't have one of your best pass rushers. Like he's the rookie. You know the guy they picked with that first overall pick. Like he
Brooks,
perform
Burks.
Traylon Burks.
He
Like
dropped
nah,
he dropped
he
an
has
important pass today.
he has just 8 catches through the first three games for 115 yards. So it's not like he's coming in and setting the league on fire. So
Right.
you just have to stop Robert Woods. They don't have those dangerous pass catching options and just contain the run, which the Colts have been absolutely amazing at this
Right.
year. Robert Stewart been playing at superstar levels of play at defensive tackle. The first Wagner really good, Quiddy Pay really good, Yannick and Gaku are really good, and they
Yeah.
showed today. You know, the defensive line showed today like they 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 are not about unit. They
Mhm.
just had a tough start to the year.
Yeah.
Stephon Gilmore was probably going to go up against Robert Woods, and that's a matchup I like. I like Stephon Gilmore and Robert Woods. Take that any day of the week.
hmm
And on
Yeah.
defense, you know,
Yeah. Robert Woods is not him. Mm-mm.
yeah,
He's pretty good, but he's not Andre
yeah, it's
Johnson.
not
He's
that,
not
yeah,
Hopkins. He's not any of the divisional style
yeah,
opponent
tough, yeah,
receivers that we are accustomed to, right?
yeah. We
Like
were accustomed
Colts
to,
are
yeah,
used to getting like a really good premier wide receiver one out of a couple of the teams in your division anyway
yeah,
every year. They don't tend to have good running backs, for example, very long. They don't tend to last. So yeah, I think that
and they don't have like they just don't have the same team as last year. You know, they just lost way too many players. They lost a lot
yeah,
of talent. They do not seem like the same team. So if you ask me, you know, this Titans team is much worse than last year. This Colts team is much better.
yeah.
The difference, you know, was last year in Lucas Oil was like an overtime touchdown.
hmm
So yeah, I'm really happy with what with like I would say we are the clear favorites against the Titans right now.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I the thing about it is what I've sort of realized, and again, like I said, is because of what Frank Reich said today. and it didn't. It spoke to me. He wasn't talking to me. But I had said like I'd wondered how do you get to keep your job allowed? You know what I mean? So I do kind of, I mean, I'm kind of eating crow when the guy comes out for some friggin' reason, and
Yeah,
I think a lot of it has to do with Chris Ballard's a really good talent evaluator, and he used to work for the Chiefs, so he's got a lot of good relationships built and has a lot of notes on a lot of things. Like this is kind of how the way they do it, and not to mention, this is a team that you're going to put a different style of resource into a team that you have to beat them when you play them in the regular season because it's a morale lift,
yeah,
and then also because you're going to see them in the playoffs. Um, Whereas a divisional opponent, you've got to put a lot of resources in because you're going to see them twice a year. But
yeah,
again, the game is contextual. These are people when it all comes down to it. And I get it. I think that there's this danger of getting lulled into the sort of lullaby that mediocrity sings when people are saying, like, as long as nobody's getting in trouble and as long,
yeah, and
we're
everyone,
winning, we're
yeah,
winning games like this where there was a point in the game where if you look at our chat for Stampede Blue staff, I said the outcome from this point's irrelevant. And the reason that I said that was you can only control what you can control. And I
yeah,
felt like right up until that moment, the Colts had done everything they could to manage all of the disaster that had hit them from the beginning of the year up until that point. Like you'd gotten all the way here and you still have almost
yeah,
everybody. You're not like down Paris Campbell and Stephen Gilmore's out now, and you know what I mean. You're still very healthy. You have the ball. You're down less than a score against who I presume is going to represent the AFC in the AFC Championship.
yeah,
One
most
of the
likely.
probably either us, the Ravens, the Bills, or the Chiefs. In my
Yeah,
eyes, maybe the Chargers are a top 4 or 5 team, but I
yeah,
really do
yeah,
think
the
the Colts
Chargers.
potentially could be one of the top 4 teams, but only because they can win their division, not because I actually think they're a top 4 team.
Yeah,
Um, but it takes winning like this to build a lot of confidence for what was mostly just unknown. Not that you, Matt Ryan couldn't rely on Jelani Woods or Alec Pierce, but it's the development of that confidence means when Matt Ryan drops back, instead of going, "Oh shit, my 1 and my 2 are covered, I'm just gonna have to throw the ball away." I
yeah,
have the confidence that the 3 and the 4 did their job. And so when I look back to the right or look back to the backside, they are open and because they did their job, I'm confident they'll make the catch. Right. The offense will look a lot more fluid. So again, winning does a lot for you. It
yeah,
carries a lot for it does a lot for you. But again, I just want to make sure everyone knows that even though they won, that outcome was irrelevant from the Chris Jones penalty on. I hadn't there was absolutely anything could have happened in that time frame after that Chris Jones penalty, and I would have not felt any different. The Colts can play with anybody, evidence, right? Up until that point, even being down 4. But
yeah,
if you think about football as a possession game, they're down 1 possession with 11 minutes left in the fourth. If there's a fucking tornado and it burns down the stadium, my point stands. The outcome was not relevant after the Chris Jones penalty, right? Because it was outside of your control. There's nothing you can do about it. It's literally a tornado. A
yeah,
tornado came. Oh, you get to go again. That's what it was. That's literally how it was. That's how it felt, right? It's for a lot
yeah,
of
yeah,
people that they're going to try to turn it into anything else, but nope. That you can't control that, and if you had that happen in a million universes, they wouldn't have called the penalty. So the Colts win that game. And for the record, they didn't win on that penalty. They won on the plays that they made after they got this
yeah,
gift penalty. So of course, like I said, the outcome didn't matter other than when asked, what does this do? Frank Reich did say at some point you have to get the result. And this is a big one.
Yeah.
I mean, this is like a guy that spends all his extra money on fishing gear and he keeps coming up empty. And then one time he comes home with like a 1,500 pound halibut and it feeds his entire community for months, right? Like
Yeah.
this is the kind of hope,
Yeah.
like a bucket of hope that you can draw from. Hey man, we beat the Chiefs when, and the Chiefs were, for the record, the Chiefs were pretty healthy, right? Because I don't think you get to draw as much hope from beating, like you said. And again, I'm kidding when I'm like, oh, King Henry's falling off like all these monarchs. Um, the Titans really are shorthanded, right? It's not a they suck, fuck the Titans. Nope, that too. It's just that like your best pass rusher's out and your backside starting tackles out for the year, man. Like if
Yeah.
that were the Colts, yeah, I'd feel the same. Like it's just not the same. It's like when you have a bully and he's got a broken arm, but he still wants to fight. Like, all right, man. Okay, right? So you got to win those games. You got to win the winnable games, and that feels like something that Colts have
Yeah.
struggled with, right? Is winning the games you're just supposed to win,
Yeah. You have to. Yeah.
right? And I get it. We'd kind of labeled those first couple games, the Texans game and the game against the Jags, as must-win games, and maybe they just weren't. They're road games. They're road division games. You can't control the officiating, and if you go back and look, there's probably a bunch of penalties
Yeah.
that were
There are a
missed.
bunch
That
of
just
plays. Yeah.
happens in road games, right? Um, and like I said, the Colts found out, they learned today you can play with anyone. And keep this in mind. The Colts have beat the Bills and the Chiefs. Those are the only other team in the AFC that questions that we need answers is, can you handle the Ravens? Can you handle Lamar Jackson? Can
Yeah.
you beat them? Right. And then it's like, well, you could beat anybody in the AFC if you can beat the Bills and you can beat the Chiefs and you can beat the Ravens. Well, you can beat anybody in this entire conference. So got a lot to look forward to. And it's like I said, I want to sell us short. I don't want to sit here and say, oh yeah, they won this week, they're gonna win next week, they're gonna go dumpster fire in Denver. No, it's you build off this win. Get this win
Yeah.
here, you go win this game next week handily, like you're supposed to win, like a 27-10, right? That's you did what you're supposed to do. And then it's you can go on the road and beat the Broncos if you can beat the Chiefs at home and you can handle the Titans. You can do that. And then you're
Yeah.
3-1-1 and oh boy, right? With
Yeah.
10 games
That's
left. Hey kids, this is a real damn good football team as long as you don't that war of attrition doesn't come to your door, right? Because that's what it feels like. Because the more you think about it, how important each individual player is, because they only get 46 on game day, right? And I get it. It makes me a bigger football fan, right? When you think about like the guys that make NFL football teams, it does make me wonder. I will wonder about Danny Penner for a while, based on our conversation and his gameplay so far this year. Like I feel like he kind of went unchallenged at right guard. Now that I
yeah.
think about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
There were
trying to
just
remember, was
yeah.
there someone there that else there was
Nah,
getting
the
significant reps?
backup is Will Fries, and he was like Danny Pinter was the starter from the get go. That was the guy that the team was saying, okay, this is the guy that's gonna be starting.
So yeah, I
And
think you need to fix your communication problem. I think you're gonna suffer less. I say that. You're
yeah,
gonna suffer less with a bad guard than you would with a tackle. And only marginally, you know what I mean? It probably hurts a lot more. Guy weighs about 50 to 75 pounds more when he hit you. The pressure up the middle it's not nearly as common, to say it like
yes,
that.
pressure.
And that's
Yeah,
why it got to the Colts today. Usually, and I'll just throw this out there so people that are football heads can figure out like what the hell was going on with the Colts today. Um, Usually when that linebacker lines up over your center, he's going to drop back in coverage. And so I'm pretty sure the Colts offensive line had communicated that that guy's faking, showing us a blitz, but there's no way he's going to go
Yeah,
one on
he's
one with a center. You're an idiot. Why would you ever do that? Unless you're like Ray Lewis. But that guy ain't Ray Lewis. And what they're
yeah,
relying on is you thinking he ain't coming. I'm still handling this double team to my right because that's my
yeah,
assignment,
'cause that's
right?
yeah, that's the
And
guy you
then
want to
they
stop. That's the
send him
guy.
anyway. And they sent that guy anyway. Um, Normally it wouldn't happen. So for the record, let me also say that on camera, it isn't so much about the result today or what happens next week or even in Denver. It's about what is beating you, what's getting to you. And what the Colts showed me today is that you really do have to do something inordinary to get
Yeah,
over on Matt Ryan. Because if you're playing normal defense, especially late in a tight contest, oh, he's beating you because he could throw into a tight window and he throws the timing ball well and he uses his weapons and he's not honed in on a single receiver and he's not a one read guy and he's also not trying to crack the deep ball either. He don't need it, right? He just take 11 minutes late in a game when I'm down four and put it in your mouth. What are you going to do about it?
yeah,
Eat this touchdown party, Jelani Woods. And I hope they have a great weekend. I just hope nobody gets in trouble or gets hurt. That's my thing. Is like, hey, you actually can hang with anyone. Don't get hurt.
if you're healthy, yeah,
Don't get hurt. Don't get hurt. Um, yeah, I kind of feel good about it from here. Ready to let it go?
yeah, yeah.
Well, hey, we appreciate anybody that listens to our podcast. We have never posted our podcast on the Stampy Boo podcast network, and it's because I curse. We curse,
Hmm. Yeah,
and you also have to add commercial breaks. And a lot of the feedback that I got when I first started creating content was that people want to see you emote. They want to see your face when you say this stuff. And so when Stephen Reed and I kind of parted ways because he wanted to do his little 30-minute, talking in the bathroom podcast, I'm just making fun of him. He's my buddy. When he decided he wanted to do that, and I was like, all right, the next podcast I make, I was like, I'm just going to record it in a Zoom call and put it on YouTube because there's no editing. There's no bleeping out of curse
yeah. It's
words.
just
There's
yeah,
no 6 minutes of commercials during my podcast. And I get it. We may end up that way. And I'm sorry ahead of time, but I got to do what I got to do. But until that moment comes, until if I do this, I get paid comes, hey, we're just going to post this on YouTube raw. And that's in my eyes, that's the best way to do a podcast because
yeah.
that's
To
what
get to your
people
people,
want
yeah,
anyway, right? And I think if you get me or you, specifically you, on the other side of the planet in any other format than your most raw, authentic self,
yeah,
who else do you want to be to the people that are watching you and listening to you? Is I want to be my exact self with my real feelings.
yeah.
And I don't,
Cursing, just
yeah, and
yeah,
I every now and then I want to let out a F bomb. It's just as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't hurt you too bad in the algorithm. It's outside the first 5 minutes. Like I did my homework. I went to school for this. That's why there's no title page. There's no editing. There's no graphics floating at the bottom. I don't want you to feel like I'm selling you something. I'm giving you something, right? It's much different. Like I'm not trying to, you know what I mean? Like I'm not sitting here talking about gambling, right? We're sitting here talking about the ins and outs
yeah.
of what it takes to win
Of yeah,
a high level, a very high level football game. And this is one of them ones where like they'll be playing this one for a while. Like even just a regular season game, it didn't mean a whole lot, but you watch that game, man, the Colts were down bad. They were getting pressure like up the middle. It's the worst. Their run game was flat, but they hung in there.
yeah, yeah. And
I
they
cried
managed, yeah.
today. I cried watching the Colts today. It's crazy. Like I went and told my wife, like they scored. What? Like and my wife is like, "Are you mad?" And I'm like, "I don't know what I am." But like Jelani Woods has scored. The Colts are up, and like there's only like 24 seconds left. And she's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "I need to go
Yeah,
sit
that
down."
was yeah,
I don't know.
that was
It's
like
already been a long season, you know.
yeah. Just I just wasn't believing. Like I was always thinking, like, okay, now the Chiefs are gonna come back. Now the
Yeah.
Chiefs are gonna come back. Okay,
Oh
now
yeah.
we're gonna. And then all of a sudden, it's like Jelani Woods scores, and it's like, okay, we might actually win this one,
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, oh, we
and we
just
did.
stunned the Chiefs at home. Like, oh boy, that one's supposed to happen. And that can do and that alone can do a ton. It moves. You know what I mean? It move that when something happens for you that ain't supposed to happen, it's like hitting a lottery ticket. Oh shit. I'm not quite paycheck to paycheck for the next month. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of how
Yeah,
this little gift win could do a lot of heavy lifting for you.
yeah,
It
for this
make
team,
people
yeah,
forget real quick about that shutout
yeah,
loss in
God,
Jacksonville,
yeah,
right?
and the tie against, yeah,
Yeah, and the tie in Houston and OT. Although again, I will contend again, hindsight's always 2020. I will contend the reason that was a tie is Lovey Smith decided that was going to be a tie, right? Otherwise, Colts win that game. I will contend that, right? Now, again, I don't know what you call that shutout loss on a road, but 1-1-1 going into a winnable contest, followed by the
yeah,
real contest of the first 5 games is can you go in Denver and beat Russell Wilson? In my eyes, but you beat the Chiefs at home, and it makes me and anyone that has any football IQ or watches any football, I feel a lot better about. Hey, you know what? This team can
yeah,
go into
yeah.
Denver and
We
win
might
it Mile
actually,
High. That
yeah,
is a
we might actually
winnable
make
football
some
game. And you
noise.
know what? You win that game, you're 3-1-1, and you look real good. Because if you look at the rest of the league, they're falling apart, my friends. The league is falling apart. Its injuries just add up for everyone, and it's not for us right now. Remember, and if you've watched our podcast or content I create for a while, that's kind of how I temper my mood, right? Is do what did it cost? And today, that
Yeah,
win,
today,
it
yeah,
is all upside. And those are the kind of things you gotta get. You need as much of that sweet upside as you can get because it drives people, right?
yeah,
The crime is gonna go down in Indianapolis, the birth rate's gonna go up all over a stupid football game. I'm dead serious. I'm dead serious. People are Matt Ryan is about to have children. That that's
yeah,
that's what's going to happen when you win big games like this. So have a great week. We'll see you after next week's game.
yeah.
This has been the Coltist with Mateo Kaliz and Jared Malak. Bye, everybody.